Alright, what's going on? So I was doing some work on a 98 Chevy 1500 with the 5.7 vortec. Guy was complaining about never starting after it's been warm. And then it'll spit and sputter on the takeoff and want to die once you put it in gear. I think I fixed some of that problem early on with just a fuel filter. I changed the fuel pressure regulator inside on the spider injection. That's what they call them on these. It looks just like a spider. But what I've come to find out after a little bit of testing with the fuel pump here, I thought the fuel pump was my issue. Fuel pump is not the issue. Comes down to the spider injection is leaking off. Whether it's one injector, 3 injectors, I don't know. But it is leaking off after shutting off the key. It's not holding back the pressure. They should run 52 to 59, 60 psi with the fuel pump. And when you shut the key off, it should drop to about 40 psi and hold for 4 to 5 minutes. Where you really have a problem is if it drops within 15-30 seconds down 10-5-0. So right now it's at operating temperature. I'm just going to show you how I diagnose this basically, as being what I think it is that spider injection. So it's at operating temp. So I'm going to do what I had to do normally to get it started. It's just by foot to the floor. Crank it over, and it'll put it in full flood mode, and it'll let it clear some of that gas out that's in that intake, in that plenum. As you can see, it's sitting right at 50 psi. Now what I started doing, well, I'll show you how it drops. Now that should drop. It's gonna hit 60, stop. That should drop to 40. And hold for a good 4 or 5 minutes, like I said. As you see, we're getting on 10 seconds. It's dropping, 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 dropping. It's going to drop all the way down to 5 psi. It has been 5 to 0. It's still going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump it wide open. Now some of that fuel all just leaked into the intake, so I'm going to dump it. It's dumping, draining into the can. It'll start perfect and run fine. What it's doing is them injectors are not able to hold that pressure. So even if I'm doing this, let it run at 50 psi, the injectors aren't working correctly and regulating pressure like they're supposed to. It's dumping more fuel, which could lead to burning up a catalytic converter on these, which in turn was causing a lot of his, most likely causing a lot of his problems with putting it in gear, taking off, spitting, sputtering, just getting too much fuel. So now what I'm going to do, completely dump that while it's running, shut it off. Now it's going to start like it normally should because I didn't let any of that fuel build up inside that spider injection and dump. Starts up and runs fine. Now if I went in and hit the accelerator, it'll most likely stumble a little bit because I'm not putting enough fuel to it when it's demanding it. Probably the best that's ran since I've started working on it. So if you've got an issue with your 5.7 vortec that has the spider injection in it, if you go out in the morning, starts right up, runs, no problem. As it gets warm, you start spitting, sputtering. If you go, say you go to the grocery store, stop, turn it off, come back out, and it doesn't want to start. You gotta crank it forever, and then it finally starts. Other than, if you can get a pressure gauge, check your pressure for one, because these fuel pumps are known for putting 50 psi to it, and it'll start and run, and then they'll die out and it'll run about 45 psi. If your fuel pump's doing that, you need to change your fuel pump first and foremost. What I have figured out with this, these engines need 50 psi to start. If you can crank it and it'll have 50 psi but won't start, you have another issue, which led to me dumping the fuel and trying to start it that way, and it tells me that it's, you start it up, let it run, kill it, and that does not hold at 40 psi for at least a minute at the minimum. I think GM says 3 to 5. You've got something leaking off, injectors leaking off, or you've got a fuel leak actually somewhere, but it's flooding the engine is what it's doing. So I'm going to order a spider injection kit and get that changed. See you guys.